I'm Joan Lorraine. I'm so happy to be here. I am a career coach for women in transition. So I help women who know that they need a change in their career. It could be that they're burned out or not treated well or not valued at their job. It could be that they need to switch to a totally different career. They don't know what to do. Maybe they've been laid off. Maybe they're coming back to work, and I can help them with every aspect of their journey. And I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited you're here because I just feel your story in my bones every time I hear you speak about it. And can't wait to chat about choosing yourself, trusting the next chapter. So let's get into it. I was so excited to be chatting about this because when I heard you speak here at Sky Oro a couple weeks ago, I just was all wrapped up in your story and the way you talk about naming yourself, rediscovering yourself, the way you support other women in doing that, and all the pivots in life. So I'm just hyped to be sitting down with you again.
That's so nice of you to say. I'm happy to be here, especially at Skyora.
Oh, yeah, one of our favorite places to be. But would you mind sharing a bit about your journey and, where you started in your career, where that led you, just whatever you're comfortable sharing?
That's a long journey. Do you
I
want me, Amy,
know.
to go into the whole thing? Or,
I mean, I love it. It's a good one. So
okay.
whatever feels right.
Okay. So, to introduce myself to your listeners,
Yeah.
I'm a career coach. I know it was a brief introduction, but I work with women to find careers that will serve them and give them all of the actual tangible tools to succeed. And the reason that resonates so well with me is that growing up, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Some little girls definitely want to be a ballerina or this, and I didn't know, and I was artistic, so I just kind of went to college and had a great time. And I took all of these random classes, and I was majoring in political science and art history, and I loved Latin American politics. But I had no idea what I wanted to actually do. And my parents said, "Well, you need to go to grad school or law school." And I remember meeting with my advisor in college, and he said, "Joan, you will hate law school. It is not for you. It's competitive, it's backbiting, it's nasty. These aren't your people. I don't think this will work well with who you are." I said, "I'm fine. I can do anything." I did no research. I didn't even prepare for the LSAT.
Oh my God.
I just took it. Did okay. And then I applied to law schools. My dad thought it'd be a great idea if I was a lawyer because he always wanted to be a lawyer. So I applied to law schools and I got accepted to a school that was just far enough away from my friends and family that I thought I might study. And this is in Ohio. And the first day there, Amy, I knew it wasn't for me. I knew that this was a very stressful environment. And I remember one of the first assignments we got for legal research and writing was to prepare a brief. And this is back when we had computers to research things, but people were still using a lot of books. And I remember finding the case law. I remember finding the book the case that would be pertinent. And I went and I opened the book and someone had taken a razor and taken it out so no one else could read it.
Oh my God.
And that kind of showed me a lot of what this was like.
Hmm.
People kind of scratching to be at the top 10% of their class, people who really thought that arguing was fun and getting one over on someone. And they wanted to be a lawyer for that reason. And that really wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
But because I committed to law school and my parents wouldn't let me quit, I stayed. And I had no idea what type of lawyer I wanted to be. I had no idea really what I was doing. No one ever took the time, and I didn't know that there were any resources. And honestly, back then, there were no career coaches.
Okay, so just really like your guidance
Mhm.
counselor at school and
Yep,
whatnot.
yep. There were no actual career coaches. Those started in universities around 1996.
Mm.
So there was no umbrella of career coaches for higher education. They just didn't exist. So all I did was talk to my advisor, who truthfully told me I would hate it, and I did. Again, no plan. So the day I graduated law school, I knew I didn't want to be in Ohio anymore. And I'd been on vacation in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I liked it. So I packed up my U-Haul with my best friend, who actually was just here visiting me and just left yesterday from law school. And we drove to Florida, not knowing any lawyers, not having any idea of what I was going to do, what type of law I was going to do. Took the bar exam, which was very hard, and just started applying to jobs with no idea of what do I like? What are my interests? What are my values? What would I be good at? What could make a difference in the world? I just started applying. And I started getting these random job opportunities. One was working with Limescale or Limeworks in Tampa, Florida. And I remember going and interviewing, and I said, I have no idea what you do. I don't understand what this is.
The
This is
honesty.
working with rocks. I don't get it. And I said, I don't think this is for me because I don't even understand. And they called me later and said, we'd love to hire you. And I said, no, I don't know what I'd be doing. And so I would just apply for these random jobs and I kept, for whatever reason, people wanted to hire me, but I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. So I wound up accepting a position at a very small law firm with only 3 lawyers, and I didn't really know what they did. And I came to find out that they did insurance defense and they did some bankruptcy and they did some criminal defense, but they said, you're going to do insurance defense. I don't really know what that is. And you're going to work for all of these big name insurers who I'm not going to name here. And they wanted me to find reasons to deny claims. So if someone's house burned down, they wanted me to find some sort of reason that they could theoretically say, well, there's a material misrepresentation, or maybe there's some reason that we shouldn't pay your claim.
Oof.
And that didn't feel good. And nothing about the law career felt good. But I did that for a while. Then that really, really was difficult. So then the one partner said, well, why I do criminal defense and bankruptcy, you're going to do that too. No direction. So I just started doing it and figuring it out on the fly and going to court and having no idea really what I was doing. And I remember they had me go to a federal arbitration for maritime law. So think about this. Here I am, I'm 25 years old. I've never been to federal court. And I'm representing the insurance company against these 3 old white guys who were probably in their early 60s who've been doing this 30 years each. And I got smoked. I got a 0. And I thought that was fair.
Mm,
And it was very hard. Like we as women talk about imposter syndrome. I had imposter syndrome because I had no training. I had no idea what I was doing. And it wasn't like you learn anything in law school that prepares you to actually be a lawyer. You learn how to take tests,
hmm.
but you don't know what you're doing from day to day. So I kind of figured out how to do bankruptcy. I figured out what criminal defense looked like. And within 18 months of being at this small firm, one of the partners and myself left and we created our own. Right around my 27th birthday, now I have my own law firm. And then I decided to just focus on those 2 areas, criminal defense and bankruptcy. And criminal defense was very, very stressful. It's as stressful as you think it would be. It's dangerous. You have upset people on one side or the other. You're in dangerous situations going to meet with your clients in the jail. I got locked into a county jail and general population accidentally as a woman.
Oh my God. Oh
That
my
was
God.
wild.
Okay.
And it was just, it's not good for your nervous system to be in that much danger all the time. It took me years to realize afterwards that I was really in a dangerous situation every day. At the time, you just think it's normal. You're
Hmm.
just stressed out all the time. And you're doing trials and you're doing 17 hearings in a morning and you're just driving around because I opened offices in 3 different counties and had 4 actual physical offices
At 27, late
at
20s.
27.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay.
It was just driving, going to court, driving to this court, driving to this court, then sometimes going to federal court for bankruptcy. And you normalize that, especially as a woman. You think, well, this is what I do. And then as time went on and the practice grew, the partner and I split up within a year. But so it was just me. But then I had staff. I had lawyers and I had paralegals and I had law clerks and I had legal assistants. And it never occurred to me that I could do something different. Not for a minute. We
When did it? Like, when did that inkling come up?
I think when my health really started to suffer, it was one thing to be stressed out, and maybe you get some stomach problems, or maybe you kind of feel your heart racing, or maybe you start getting migraines. But when you have major, major health issues that aren't resolving, even after surgeries, you realize the impact of stress. So one day I was blowing dry my hair. I think I might have shared this story with you guys. And I was on my way to criminal courthouse, like I was every morning for my probably 7 hearings. And I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, I can't do this. I cannot do this another day. It's going to kill me. And I got ready and I went to court. And as I was walking around, I was saying goodbye to everyone because I knew in my head,
Mm.
because I was saying, I can't come back here again. This is literally going to kill me. And I came back to my office and my staff was all there. And I said, I have news. We're not going to do criminal defense anymore. And criminal defense paid 75% of the bills. And they were really, really confused and really upset. But it took me to get to that point where I thought, I'm not going to live much longer, to be honest with you, that I realized if I quit practicing law in this way, the world will keep spinning. My staff will be able to feed their families. I really believed, I put that on myself, that I was the only one that could do that. I have no idea why. That wasn't true, but I believed that for so many years, that I would suffer so that all these people who I supported would be okay. But what I've come to realize and what I teach all of my career coaching clients is that when you do what's best for you, ultimately everyone else benefits. That's one of my Joan mantras. And it's none of your business how they benefit. You don't need to get updates after. Just know that when you're
Mhm.
being true and authentic and what's best for you, that ripple effect is going to affect your family, your friends, your employees, everybody. And ultimately, it's what's best for them, even if you don't see it.
I love that because I feel like so often we talk about success metrics,
Hmm.
whatever the world is we're examining. But you're right, there's all these unseen benefits of everything. Just like when we were talking before about the podcast, how I say some people will reach out, randomly and be like, wow, I'm so grateful for, whoever shared this story and this really resonated with me. And if we don't just be our authentic selves in ways that we allow other people to be a part of it, we can't have that impact.
Yeah.
And most often, like you said, we won't ever know. We just have to trust the process.
Yeah.
So,
So even though I quit doing criminal defense, I did stay as a lawyer. I did
mm,
bankruptcy and I still managed the law firm for a long time.
okay.
But it was not, it wouldn't matter if it was 2 hours a week, it was too much. It wasn't in alignment, it wasn't where I needed to be. When I ultimately did fully step away, I sold the practice to my younger brother, who was a lawyer that worked for me. And I sold my building and I stepped away. I was still in an advisory consulting role, but I wasn't in court every day. And then I thought, well, what am I going to do? I had no idea. So the assessments that I give my clients to help them figure out their values, their strengths, these really cool interests that they have, their occupational themes, that would have been super helpful then. I didn't have that. So I thought, and it's funny that we're talking about this, Amy, because I had forgotten that I did this. And I was just talking to my partner the other night about it. I thought, well, I want a job where nobody's screaming at me, nobody's crying, nobody's going to prison, I'm not getting threatened, and I can go home and not think about it anymore. So I went to work in a coffee shop. I was thinking about buying the coffee shop in all truthfulness, but I didn't even know how to make coffee and I didn't drink coffee. But I thought, I can just be here and someone can order like a pastry and give me $5 and I hand them a pastry and they say thank you and leave and then I don't see them again. They're not emailing me, texting me, hysterical in my office crying. I needed to experience that for a little bit.
Hmm.
So I did that for a couple of weeks and then I realized that I'm not a barista and I don't know how to make any of these drinks. I just kept
So no learned activities, specialties.
offering everyone drip coffee, or I could make them tea, and I would talk about the pastries. But for a few weeks, maybe it was like 3 weeks, it was just good to experience something
Yeah,
where it isn't life or death. I mean, literally.
yeah.
So that was kind of cool. And I still had more health issues, and I was still going through that. And I thought, well, what's something that I enjoy? Where again, people aren't screaming or crying or going to prison. So I got certified to be a Pilates instructor. And that was fun. And then I did that for a while. Then I created my own studio. but I was still doing other things. I was helping my then ex-husband run his business. I was still consulting with the law. I was still, I was on different boards for charities. I was still doing all of the things because it didn't occur to me I didn't have to.
Yeah, what did it feel like to be still so a part of so many worlds, especially for other people, when you were moving on?
Yeah, I didn't get it then that it's okay to do less. And by doing less, you can actually achieve more.
Yeah.
That took a long time. Yep.
Yeah, a long lesson to learn usually.
Long lesson to learn.
Okay, so Pilates.
I did Pilates and ran another business. I ran my ex-husband's business
Hmm.
and I did all of his marketing and his QuickBooks and yeah, was still going through some pretty traumatic health things. And then when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, that was kind of a wake-up call because I fully believe that it was stress induced because stress is inflammation. And no one in my family had breast cancer. There's no history on either side.
Wow.
I didn't have any of the markers or I didn't have the gene. I didn't have any reason for that to happen. That kind of seemed like a wake-up call. So that took several years to go through. And while I was going through it in Florida, I was not healing and I was not doing well. And there were more surgeries. And one day I just knew as Florida was getting hotter and hotter with climate change, and it was getting more and more difficult for me to battle all of the allergens, that it was time for a change. And it was right after I renovated my house. After I spent almost a year renovating it, the day it was done, I got a very clear feeling that I needed to move. So I didn't put the house on the market. I called a friend who's a realtor. She came over and looked at it and said, Joan, you just killed yourself. You just gutted this house and redid it. And I said, I just know that it's time to go. And then this was when COVID just started. And the next day she called me up and said, I was at a dinner party and met somebody who's interested in your neighborhood. Can I bring him over? And I said, sure. Got on my bike, left the house, came back, and she said, he will give you a cash offer and close when you want. When do you want to close? What do you want for the house? I'd never considered.
Oh my gosh.
I said, I don't know. She said, well, figure it out. Because he wants to move there. And he's going to pretty much waive inspection. And I thought, oh, wow, I'm doing this.
Did it feel like things were coming together?
No, it was still very chaotic. It just felt like the right thing. I just didn't know what it was.
Mm.
So then I reached out to someone I knew who had moved to Bozeman, but I didn't know it was Bozeman. I just knew he moved to Montana. And I said, didn't you move to Montana? You post pretty pictures. What do you like about it? And he wrote me several pages of all the reasons I would like it, knowing me. And I said, okay, we're just going to move to Bozeman, Montana. I didn't know about the Yellowstone show. I didn't know people were moving here. I didn't know it was a hot real estate market. I didn't know anything. I just knew I need to get out of the heat. I wanted to go somewhere that was still sunny. And Bozeman has the highest rate of sun in Montana. So that was a determining factor. And packed up and moved to Bozeman. Again, much like I did before without knowing a soul. Closed down my Pilates practice. My ex closed his business. The house got literally sold in a day. And what was wild is that we had a huge oak tree in the back that was just massive. And it was really the heart of the house because it created shade for the pool. And all the friends' kids would play in it. And it was just literally like you just felt the warmth of that tree. Well, that tree, unbeknownst to me, had been creating root damage and destroyed the foundation of the pool and of the addition and a lot of that. And the tree had to come out, the foundation all had to be redone. I had no idea. Could you imagine if there would have been a thorough inspection?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So a lot of things pulling you to where you needed to be
100%.
out of situations where there was a lot of unseen.
Definitely. And I needed to get away from that lawyer identity. Everywhere I went, everyone knew me as my previous last name, as my given name, Berkowitz, because everything was Berkowitz. It was Berkowitz Law Group. It was Joan Berkowitz, the lawyer. Everyone would see me. And I would run into clients. I would run into judges. I would run into prosecutors. I ran into everybody everywhere. And I needed to completely remove myself from that.
Hmm.
So I came to Bozeman in January of 21.
So glad you did because just what an inspiring journey, and just I feel so seen in all of it. I won't get into all of it, but I know there's a lot of parallels
Well, you can
with
share
my,
with me.
well, just with my identity as a career firefighter before this.
Mm,
Like I did that for 10 years total being a firefighter, and like place was huge for me too, of packing up and moving west on a whim to work on ranches and just take a beat. That was my Pilates. Um, what do you call it? A sabbatical,
yeah.
my version of that. Um, so yeah, I know how important it is to have that place change when
Mhm.
you're making a shift in who you are and finding out what that even means, and just thrusting yourself into an entirely different environment.
Yeah, and it wasn't too long before I moved really that I legally changed my name to my ex-husband's name,
Mm.
which was his name, not my name. But I didn't want to be Berkowitz anymore because I didn't want to be Joan the lawyer
Hmm.
anymore. So I had that name. And then when I came here, I had to go through 2 more surgeries for my breast cancer. But I healed like a champ. No problems, no issues, no side effects. This never happened to me. No complications. I just healed well. And then once I healed from that, I thought, well, I probably need to work. So I worked at um, a furniture store in town for a little bit, for like a month. And then someone said, you should be a career coach because you've mentored so many people. I've trained so many people. I've interviewed so many people and I've mentored so many people. So the university hired me as a part-time career coach. And I saw undergraduates primarily. And that was nice. But I got to tell you, some of the freshman boys were not as awesome to work with, not very compliant.
Mm.
And I thought, well, this isn't for me. So I tried to quit. And my boss said, how about instead of quitting, I give you a department for you to create as you see fit. And the graduate school, the postdocs, they need someone dedicated to them. And we think you'd be perfect for it. So I did that. And I did that for 2 years and a few months. And Monday was my last day.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm devoting all of my time to my coaching business.
Hmm.
And that was super rewarding because I got to work with amazing, brilliant students and got to learn so much about so many different things. And for the first time in my life, I loved my job. I'd never experienced that. I didn't think it was possible.
Mm.
And I would look forward to going in and seeing my students and having them tell me what they're doing. And because they were graduate students, they were very compliant. If I gave them assignment, they had it done. They had it done on time. They never blew me off. They were really respectful. It was great. And I forged these really meaningful relationships with them. And it gave me kind of a crash course in career coaching because there are many career coaches out there who are great at their jobs and they can review a resume, they can review a LinkedIn profile, they can help people interview, but I would do 500 of those a year. So it was really amazing to be so inundated and have to be up to date all of the time on the latest AI, the latest trends, the latest statistics. It forces you to do that.
Hmm.
So it really put me in the perfect position to pivot to only focusing on my coaching business.
And what's the focus there now? You're helping women, and what
Mhm.
types of transitions are you supporting them through?
Yeah, so my coaching business is helping women in transition, and I started it about a year ago, and I couldn't devote all of my time because I was still working at the university. But now I'm just doing this. So I've kind of changed what my business plan or my target market. Before the election, I was really pushing women to let's find something you love. Let's just be so excited about going to work every day. Let's find something that aligns with you. But so many people are laid off. So many people are scared. So many women are having to go to work that maybe didn't. It's a different world, and I didn't want to be tone deaf. So I've shifted my focus and I'm redoing my website, which should be live next week, I think.
Fun.
Yeah, it's been great. And I want to help women who need a change, who actually need a change. It might be because they're burned out and they've been doing the same thing. It might be because, like me, they didn't know there were any other options. This is what I do. Other people count on me. But now I'm getting more clients who were laid off by the federal government and are scared because even though they're technically still there, now with the recent Supreme Court decision, they can be fired. And people who are going back to work who maybe haven't worked in a long time and think, what can I possibly do? I can't really contribute anything. People who have been through toxic relationships and survived. People who have been through health issues and survived. I've done all of those things. So I can empathize and relate to pretty much anywhere that they are because I've done it. And it took a lot of work for me to get to this point now where I'm doing what I absolutely love and what I think I'm best at and meant to do. And that's what I want for them.
That's beautiful. Yeah, because it's so when you're in that dark place and you're fighting for your life or you're fighting for your family or fighting to be heard, how crazy is it to think clearly and bet on yourself and figure out the path forward
Mhm.
and so to walk alongside someone who's been there,
Yeah.
who spent their whole life living that journey and now helping others through it.
Yeah. And I think that everything I've done has put me in the perfect position. Yes, I have a lot of certifications, and yes, I have a lot of education. But the daily working with people as a lawyer who come in and say, my life is in shambles. I have no idea what to do. I need a game plan. And I can strategize and say, this is what we're going to do step by step. That's exactly what I bring to my career coaching clients.
Yeah.
I bring them clarity. We do very definitive, measurable goals. Next time I see you, I want this done. I'm your accountability coach. I'm not just going to tell you everything you need to know. I'm going to encourage you, build you up, but I also want to see that you're a
Mm.
partner in this as well. So,
That is exactly the kind of support I would personally need because yeah, there's so much out there where it's like, oh yeah, like I'll help you through it. I'll reflect back what you might be not be noticing or what have you. But I'm like, I need clear steps. I need you to be asking me, Amy, did you do this?
mhm.
Yeah. So
I'll
that's
do a little reminder. Remember, we're meeting tomorrow at 10. I need to see your such and such. You got to
yeah.
report to me. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a life coach. I am a career coach who has a lot of life experiences.
Mm.
So I can listen and be empathetic, but I'm here to let's get stuff done. Let's figure out. Usually, the beginning part of me working with someone is the client really discovering who she is and what she's best at and things that maybe she had never thought of that she'd be good at or she would be interested in. Could be a different career, a different part of her career, and getting clarity. You can't do anything else. We can't work on your resume and networking and interviewing all of the other in job searching until you are really clear on who you are and what you want. And when you align with what you want and you're targeted and you're intentional, that's when good things are going to happen.
Heck yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing with brand and web design.
Yeah,
If you don't know who you are, what your story is, who are the people you're meant to serve, you can make a site, you can whip up a logo, you can start showing up at networking events, but nothing's going to connect meaningfully if you don't do that work.
exactly.
So it probably just translates to every aspect of life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the intentionality.
Hmm.
Hmm.
What do you think people misunderstand about career coaching?
I can tell you what some of my clients have told
Yeah,
me.
okay.
They think, oh, well, someone's just going to help me with my resume, or they're just going to help me find different ways to apply. And that's not career coaching. Career coaching is so much about mindset. It happens to be that probably one of my favorite things to do on the planet is edit. I love writing. I love editing. When I was a kid, my mom and I used to diagram sentences for fun. So I love grammar. I know it's so nerdy, so nerdy.
It's so nice that you shared that
I know it's so
together.
nerdy, but I know it's true. And it's something you learn as a kid that comes back and is so handy because I'm like, I don't think you want a participle verb there. I think you want this verb here. And it's funny how the students and the clients are like, yeah, that's cool. Tell me
Yeah,
why.
no,
And
that
we
is
kind of
awesome.
go through. So I can edit very quickly, which is a good use of my clients' time.
Mm,
And because I've seen 500 plus in a year, I can very quickly pivot and think and figure out what we need to do. So I
mhm.
think that's really economical and good for my clients because they're getting a lot of bang for their buck. But in terms of speaking, teaching them how to speak with authority, teaching them how to interview as a trial lawyer and as someone who gave all these presentations at the university, I think I'm pretty well versed in that. I think I'm pretty comfortable with that. So I love teaching them how to do that. So I think that's what sets me apart. A lot of my clients have told me, well, no career coach has ever done this for me, or no
Mm.
career coach has ever done that for me. And I think that being up to date on the latest AI, the latest applicant tracking systems that review your resumes through the university, I was constantly putting on workshops and presentations. I think that has really helped me because you have to be in the know.
Yeah, what you'd shared the other day about that was pretty mind-blowing to me. Though it makes sense when you say it about how resumes are reviewed first by these systems and then
Hmm.
by people, and there's certain strategies to get through.
Yeah. And people don't know that. And I spoke with someone yesterday who, brilliant, brilliant woman. And so, Joan, I've been applying left and right. I've applied to like 150 places, and her resume had all of the things you shouldn't have. And I said, well, applying isn't the way to get a job anyway, just applying.
Mhm.
But if you're going to, you have to put yourself in the best possible position to be in the top 10 to 15% of all the applicants. So maybe it can get to an HR person. So these women are unwittingly sabotaging themselves by having something in their resume that the applicant tracking can't read.
Mm.
Because the applicant tracking AI really hasn't been updated since the early 2000s. So as we change and people have cool icons and they have all of these things,
Okay.
the AI or the applications can't keep up with it, or they haven't kept up with it.
Yeah, like we're out here getting creative and thinking we're adding visual flair to something and
Hmm.
it's going to stand out to someone, but it's not even getting to that point because
Exactly.
of the outdated. Wow.
Exactly.
And does all of this still apply to entrepreneurs, like people who aren't, say, applying to a job, but they're showing up with intention in other ways, running their own endeavors?
Definitely. I'm glad you brought that up because I have run several businesses and I know what it's like to be a baby starting my own business and then growing that to something successful and have run other businesses. I I think that knowing who you are, your strengths, your values, your interests is just as important. Yes, I can give you tangible tips. I can also teach you how to interview.
Mm.
I can teach all the things that I do, how to read a resume, um, how to succeed. I'm not a business coach, but I know enough that I can
Hmm.
at least lead you in a good direction as part of that too.
But yeah, I mean, there's totally that other side of interviewing too. Like as an entrepreneur, you're consistently interviewing your clients, you're interviewing
Yes.
potential service providers like virtual assistants and folks who are going to support you. And yeah, I imagine or I know I've lived it, also a really valuable skill of asking the right questions to make sure the people who are in your world, because you've designed this world for yourself as a business,
Hmm.
you can decide who's part of it.
Hmm.
Asking questions really gets you in a place where it's most fulfilling and isn't making you want to pull your hair out and burn it all down and maybe apply for a job or start a new business.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. And that's the thing. When people hire me, it might just be a couple of sessions.
hmm.
It might be up to 10 sessions because we'll go through everything you need to know from top to bottom. Or it might be I've put you in a good position, you're happy, and then we just meet maybe once a month for a check-in.
Mm. And I imagine you probably like working with people on a long-term basis, like that relationship that gets
Yeah.
built and
I
yeah.
do, definitely. But I've had other people who I've helped, I've set them up. Like I always say, I will not find you a job, but I'll put you in the best possible position and give you every resource you didn't know you needed moving forward. And then sometimes I don't hear from them. And I think, well, I hope they're okay. And then I'll get an email. I got my dream job 3.5 months ago and I've just been so in it. I forgot to thank you. And I'm so happy. And like, what's more rewarding than that? I've saved all of them from my students, from my grad students.
Yes. Okay. I love that practice of like curating this little list you can go back to of the nice things that people have said about your work or reviews from clients. Personally, I like having that on the rough weeks to look back on and be like, okay, this is why I do what I do. I don't
Amazing.
know, right? To have the practice
Yeah.
of looking back.
And I think about when I was a lawyer and the stakes were so high and people were constantly upset with you, Amy, because if it was a criminal case, they're not happy no matter what. So if
Mhm.
you get the charges dismissed or you win, they should have never been arrested in the first place. They never should have had to pay you. They're going to sue the prosecution. It was very rare that people were grateful. Or if we lost, it was my fault or the judge's fault. So people are always angry. So you can get maybe 10 criticisms in a day.
Mm.
But then when you get one beautiful thank you card that says, if it wasn't for you, I would have lost my house or I'd be in prison. It doesn't feel good. because you're in that constant negativity. I wasn't able to receive the thank yous. Now I am, and it feels so much better.
Yeah. I've been thinking about, since we crossed paths, I've been thinking about when I was younger and I did the MBTI
Hmm.
assessment, the Myers-Briggs, right? Um, I did it back when I was going into college. So I was like 17, 18, and that was right before I became a firefighter, right before I locked in on that, kind of randomly when my mom showed me, look, like you don't have any interest in what you want to major in and where you want to go to college. Look, here's this student run fire department. The D next to their name means they're a driver. And I said, hell yeah, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go drive fire trucks. And right before then, I'd taken this personality test that it came out where like the most aligned jobs for me or roles were architect, structural engineer, surgeon, and I don't remember what else. And I've been thinking recently about like what was it about the girl I was at 17, 18, where all of these high stakes, very rigid environments were what either maybe I subconsciously was answering those questions in the assessment
Hmm.
about, or what was really authentic at that time. Whereas the woman I am now, years later, where like, yes, structure is a big part of my day to day and my job and whatnot, but also it's very emotive and flowing and creative and just the exact opposite of all those worlds. So I've wondered what would come out if I took it now, 14 or so years later.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
One of the assessments I give is called the Strong Interest Inventory.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been around since after World War One, and it was set up so that people coming back from war to figure out what are they going to do.
Mm.
And it's been modified over the years. It was actually just really modified to make it gender neutral and to make it up to date a year and a half ago. And there's 244 different occupations. And what you would do is, and if I'd be happy to do this with you if you want,
That'd be fun.
you take this assessment and we compare your answers with people in 244 occupations who like their jobs. And it puts you in different occupational themes, and we can figure out why does Amy keep lining up? Why is she so similar to these jobs? What do they have in common?
Hmm.
So I took it when I first started at the university, and by the time I left, I had really changed quite a bit. But being a career coach was number two out of 244, and lawyer was not up there.
Didn't even rank.
It was low. It was in the 200s.
Well,
But I wonder if I would have had a Joan back in the day when I was still in
mm,
college, what other things I could have found. We could
it,
have looked at, well, you have these weird things you're studying. What could you do with this major?
mhm.
And really explored instead of just, I have no idea what to do, so I'm just going to do this.
Yeah. Hey, will you also tell the story of your name? Speaking of, if I'd had a chat,
Yeah.
because your name and your reclamation of who you are in that way is really freaking cool.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Joan, and my name came from my father's sister who died the week before I was born, which is very common to name the next child after a family member in that side of the family. So I always thought that was cool because I never got to meet her, and it was so meaningful to my grandparents, and I always thought Joan was cool. And Lorraine was my middle name. That is my mom's mom. And I always thought Joan Lorraine sounded pretty. And then I was Joan Lorraine Berkowitz. But then I didn't want to be Berkowitz anymore because that's so attached to being a lawyer. My ex's name I did not want for a number of reasons, as those of us who have broken up with people can appreciate. So I thought, well, what do I do? Do I go back to Berkowitz? That doesn't seem right. I'm this new person in Montana with this new career, and everything about me has completely changed from those days when I was a lawyer. I mean, literally. So I thought, well, why don't I just make Lorraine my last name? Because Joan Lorraine sounds pretty. So I filled out all of the name change application myself, and I was about to file it with the court. And I just thought, well, I'll just go without a middle name. That's not uncommon. And the morning I was going to file it, I woke up, and my father's mother, whom I was very, very, very close to, and it really had a big impact. My grandfather in my life. I thought of her and I thought, Charlotte. That's so cool. I'm going to make that my middle name. Literally wrote it down and filed it with the court. So now I have the names of three powerful women that are connected to me, connected to my DNA that I chose. I could have gotten rid of Joan. I could have picked a brand new name. And um, everything shifted after that. Everything shifted. I was able to fully cut ties with my ex who was still in town. I was able to really start looking at things differently. I was able to start tending to myself and viewing myself as almost a different entity that had this brand new, fresh start. And it feels so good to tell people I'm Joan Lorraine. It feels like me in a way I don't think any of the names ever did.
That's beautiful. Because, yeah, what a rare, I mean, any of us could take the opportunity if we wanted. I could go do that today.
Yeah.
But still, what a rare experience to get to choose every part of your name all over again and every part of your identity again.
And I've also chose every part of my life differently in terms of people I surround myself with, in terms of everything. It really created this self-care in a different way because you're kind of caring for this new entity and this new
Mm.
person who is so well aligned with who I really am. Don't get me wrong, listeners, Amy, I've done a ton of therapy, just a ton. This didn't happen in a vacuum.
Takes an army.
It really, really does. And God love my therapist here. But um, letting go of those identities in the past and what other people put on you and being able to choose who you are and make all the decisions yourself without regard of how other people view it. You know, people say all the time, what other people think of me is none of my business. It's really true
Hmm.
because when you do what's best for yourself, everyone benefits. And when I did that for myself, it has really benefited so many others around me and it's had an impact on others as well.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm glad you did because it brought you here today.
It did. It brought me to Sky Oro.
Oh, so how can people stay in your world? Visit what you're doing, learn more.
Definitely. So J Lorraine, 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 J Lorraine Coaching at Gmail, they can reach me, or jlorrainecoaching.com, which the website now is nice and it's pretty, but it's going to be way more dynamic in a few
Heck yeah.
weeks.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, I'm sure that new realigned experience with the women you were mentioning that you're meant to serve is going to be all ready to go.
Yeah, it even has a little description of like my journey and the
Mm.
transformation that, yes, on paper I was very successful. People would look and say, you're so young and look how successful you are. And meanwhile, inside, I was just a shell of a person and stressed out. And I would always say each trial would take months off my life. And and just in so much physical pain. I wore super high sky high heels every day to the courthouse on those marble floors to look. You had to look the part.
Hmm.
You had to have the car. People would say, "Well, Miss Joan, which car's yours?" And I'd go to the parking lot and clients would want the lawyer who had the nicest car. So there was so much about the outer, the way I dressed, the way I carried myself. I mean, there was so much that you had to do to kind of be the part. And then you move to Montana, nobody cares about any of that. So great.
Yeah.
It's so great. So, yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful for the life I have now, and I'm so grateful to be in Bozeman.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm so excited for the connections that are going to come in this new chapter.
Thank you so much for having me and listening to me ramble at length.
Same here. I have my moments too. No, it's all good. Thank you. The Stories That Form Us is a production of Unbridled Form, where I serve intimate artistic brands like boudoir, maternity, wedding, and fine artists through story-led branding and web design. If you're in a season of exploring the stories that form you, I invite you to download the free brand storytelling guide at unbridledform.com/storytelling. See what it reveals for you and where it might lead you next. You'll find a link in the show notes. See you next time.